All right. Good afternoon. My name is Miss Delicia Pompey, and this is my colleague, Miss Carrie Ann McKen. And so today for our class session, we're going to be doing something very exciting. Can somebody say exciting? All right, exciting. So today, I want you to pay very keen attention to what I have in my hands. So I have something here. What is this called? Cloth, yes, right? And we have cloth and we have something called, are you seeing? All right, yes, a needle and thread. And so I want you to guess what exactly I'm doing, right? You see me? And so what is it I'm doing, class? I am sewing, right? But today we're not going to be doing these old time sewings. We are going to be using a labor saving device called the sewing machine, right? So today I just want Miss McKen to continue to help you to understand what exactly that is about.
All right, Miss. Thank you, Miss Pompey. Hi, class. So today, as Miss Pompey says, we'll be looking at the sewing machine. And at the end of the class, we want you guys to learn what is a sewing machine and also to identify the parts of the sewing machine. And we don't expect you guys to remember all the parts or identify all the parts today, but at least 7 at the end of the lesson. We expect you to identify at least 7. So we're going to make this class an interactive class and we're going to make it fun. So let's get into our lesson.
All right. Thank you, Miss McKen. So class, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you now. And I want you to look at what I have. And then I want you to take in attention and listen so that we all can learn more about the sewing machine, right? So today, I have to show you the part of the sewing machine. Are you all seeing my screen? Yes. All right. So I want you to know that I can't wait to start sewing, and I want each of you to share the same sentiment, to not wait to start sewing because sewing is very fun, right? So the first part I want to show you here is the spool pin. And this here, it holds the spool of thread. So you see when we have thread, it comes on a roll, so we call that a spool. And that is what we use to put right in here. The next part of the sewing machine is the bobbin winder. And this winds the thread from the spool to the bobbin mechanically. So we don't use our hands to do that because we can use the part of the sewing machine to get that done mechanically, right? Next, we move on to the stitch length. What did I say? Stitch length. And this class, it determines the length of the stitch. So the range on our machine is usually from 0 to 4, right? 0 being the shortest and 4 being the longest. Exactly, right? The next part is the stitch width. And the stitch width, this determines the width of the stitch, right? So you cannot see in the diagram here the width, right? Next, there is the tension dial. And this class, it sets how taut the machine keeps the thread and it depends on the different fabrics. So if we use a thick fabric, then we'll have to adjust it to such. If we use a thin fabric, we're gonna have to adjust it to such, right? And we do not move this dial. It should be set on the green mark, right? Next, we have the hand wheel. And the hand wheel, it raises and lowers the needle. So we just simply turn it. And when you turn it, the needle is either raised or lowered, right? And you must always pull the hand wheel towards yourself to prevent tangling of the threads, right? Next, we have the pattern selector. What did I say? The pattern selector, yes. And this lets you determine what kind of stitch you will be making, such as straight stitch or embroidery stitch or a zigzag stitch, right? So whatever stitch you want to make, the pattern selector, it helps you to determine that, right? Next, we have the stitch selector, right? And this will tell you what type of stitching you are set to do. So when you adjust it, it shows you what exactly you're doing so that you don't do the wrong stitch. Next, we have the take up lever, and this pulls the thread back after each stitch so that the stitches will lay evenly on the fabric, right? We don't want the stitches to be bumped up. We don't want the stitches to be not how they should, right? We want the stitches to lay flat on the and evenly on the entire fabric, right? Next, we have the reverse lever, and this class, it allows you to stitch in reverse. So imagine how cool that is. You are stitching in reverse, right? And so for this, we use reverse to make our stitches secure at the beginning and at the end of seams. So when you do the reverse stitch, it helps to secure the stitches that were put in place, right? Then next, we have the presser foot lifter, and this gently lifts the presser foot up and lowers it against the feed dogs. I want you to note that the presser foot must be lowered before you begin to sew, or fabric will not move through the machine. So if the presser footer is not lower, then the fabric won't be able to move. So we just need to ensure that this is done, right? Next, we have the presser foot, right? And this holds the fabric against the feed dogs. You can see here in the picture, right? And so the feed dogs can pull the fabric through the machine. So it's going to be easier for me and you when we're sewing, right? Next, we have the feed dogs, right? It may sound a bit funny, but feed dogs, it is something very important. And these are teeth-like parts that works with the presser foot to pull the machine through, to pull the fabric through the machine, right? Is everyone paying attention? All right, lovely. Next, we have the bobbin case. And this is simply the place where the bobbin is placed, right? So wherever the bobbin case is, just where you put the bobbin. Easy peasy. Next, we have the needle, the very, very important part. And so you know exactly what a needle is used for. We ensure that the thread is pushed through so that we can get to make whatever punctures into the fabric that is necessary, right? And next we have the thread cutter. The thread cutter is where you pull your thread through. You pull your thread through and the thread cutter, the thread cutter after sewing to cut the threads, right? All right. Next we have the accessories compartment. The accessories compartment is where additional machine accessories are kept. It's like off to the left to make sewing surface smaller. So if you need a smaller surface in order to sew, maybe you have a small fabric that can be removed and you can get a smaller surface. And if you need a larger surface, that can be put in place so that you can get to sew and that it will be done properly, right? Next, we have the foot pedal. The foot pedal operates the speed of the sewing machine electrically, right? So this is not something to be played with because it can move very, 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 very quick, right? And so once we have that, we can get to move it electrically. You may know before, like in the old days, you would have seen people using one that you would have to use manually, right? But now we have it electrically, so it's not as much work being done. And finally, we have the power switch. We have the power switch, and this basically turns on the power on the sewing machine and also turns off the power electrically. So it's just like your light switch. You press it on if you need the power, and when you are not using it, you press it off. One thing that is very important for us to note is that we must ensure that once we are finished using the sewing machine, we must plug it out if we are using it with current. If we're using it with batteries, then we need to ensure that it is switched off, right? So thank you very much, class. We also, if you have any question, you can simply ask. Miss McCann, if you have anything you would like to clear up, you can clear up with the class.
Okay, no problem, Miss. I want to thank Miss Pompey for that wonderful definition for all the parts of the sewing machine, or most of the parts of the sewing machine. And I also hope you guys were listening keenly so we can come up with a definition. So I was waiting for you guys to listen to all these different parts and gather the information what Miss was saying so we can come up with a definition. So do anyone know what's a sewing machine used for now? Yes, John? Oh, that is wonderful. So John is saying a sewing machine is a mechanically driven needle for sewing or stitching clothes. Everybody agree with him? Indeed. So it's a mechanical driven device that is used for sewing or stitching clothes. So we got what a sewing machine is. Can anyone remember any part of the sewing machine? Yes, Sarah, that is very good. Give Sarah a clap, please. She said the foot paddle. Very good.
Very good, Sarah.
So I'm gonna hand you over back to Miss Pompey because I think she also have an activity for you guys to do.
Yes, we do have a very fun activity, and this is actually going to test your memory, right? So for our closing activity today, I'm going to be asking you to share what parts of the sewing machine that you remember. I know Sarah had a part that she just mentioned. Sarah, can you mention that once more so we can just put it in right away? All right, let us put that in. Let me see what's going on here.
So in the meantime, Mrs. putting in what Sarah said, can anyone else think of an other part of the sewing machine? One at a time, one at a time. I can't hear you if everyone is speaking. Okay, nicely done, John. You're on a roll today. John said the bobbin case.
All right, beautiful, John. Let me see if I can get to put this exactly where it should be. Bobbin case. Thank you for that, John. Yep. For some reason, these parts I don't want to go in, but we can see basically we're gonna point to it with our mouse so that we're gonna know exactly where they should be, right? So here we have the part that Sarah stated. Up here we have where Sarah stated also. Anybody else has any part they may want to insert? Somebody said the power switch. All right, so the power switch is usually at the back, right? So thank you for sharing that. If Somebody saying something there? Oh, all right. We have the bobbin. Yeah, the bobbin that you put the spool of thread on, right? Besides that, I had a wonderful time with you this class session. Miss Carrie Ann, you care to share exactly how you feel
No,
about the class session?
I enjoyed the class session. It was very interactive, and I can see you guys learned a lot because you've been listing all the stuff that you have remember. I know you can't remember all at once, but the fact that you paid attention and you can recap what you've learned, it really, really amazes us. So we want to
Yeah.
thank you for your attention and participating in the class. So I must say it was a success.
All right. So I just want to say congratulations because we have been able to learn the parts of the machine and we have been able to label some of the parts also, which is great. I just want to encourage you to study and to look over your work so that you are going to remember and so that you're going to be able to share if anybody comes to you and asks about any part of the machine, right? So thank you very much and do have a great rest of your day. Miss Cariana, you have anything else to say?
Well, I must just say, I want to say thank you again, class, and do see you in the next session. Bye.
Bye bye.